Hey, what's up, Crypto Army? I'm Travis, your crypto newbie, bringing you my experiences. You have to learn things the hard way. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor, and none of my content should be viewed as financial advice. Today, we're going to take a look at EverReflect. We'll do a quick fundamental analysis. Well, quick as fundamental analysis can go. I will try to keep it under 30 minutes, but we'll see how that goes. First things first, I really like their website. It's definitely something that they put together on their own. It's tailored to their project. I haven't really seen this version of a website done before. It's got a lot of really good content on it. And it's got a lot of really good information if you're just learning about this project. Now, this token only launched a couple days ago, so it's a brand new token launch, which also means that there's certain aspects of the fundamental analysis that aren't going to be as strong because it's a brand new project. As you can see here, it gives you back 15% in Binance pegged BUSD, which is always great. I did a poll probably about a couple weeks ago asking, what do people prefer? Do they prefer Binance pegged USD or basically stablecoin? Or do they prefer reflections in the native token? Or do they prefer whatever? It's all good. And the overwhelming majority said they prefer Binance pegged USD. And I tend to agree. It makes things a lot easier. I think for me, I'm going to look for a lot more tokens that are looking to do Binance pegged BUSD or some equivalent stablecoin because it's just easier across the board on many things. Now, if they also include staking, it's even better because then you can get some more of the native token and the Binance pegged BUSD. So I guess I'm in agreement with most of the people that responded to the survey. Binance pegged USD seems like it's the better option for rewards. Now, just a quick orientation. So the dashboard, they do have a dashboard up and running. This launched about a day or two after launch, if I remember correctly. They've got their white paper, and then you've got the blockchain. Now, I would say that there's a couple links on here that probably don't need to be here. I don't know that you need both a buy EVRF and a pancake swap button. I think one would work. And it kind of goes the same with the EVRV contract versus the BSC scan. I'm not sure that you need to have both. So I would probably eliminate at least one of each of those because they're kind of the same thing. And then you can look at the KYC verification process through InterFi, and then also the smart contract audit that we'll take a look at in a little bit. And then if you want, you can click on the tokenomics. Now this actually does take you to a separate part of the website. There's a frequently asked questions area that currently doesn't have anything right now. And then they've got their About Us that has their team information. And then you've got the press room. Now, press room is interesting because they've got the how to buy information in here. And I tend to think that this should be focused more on the actual media stuff. The how to buy should really just be on the landing page here, either as a link or just how to buy and then a link to where the how to buy information is at. I think that makes more sense intuitively. When people get on the website here, they probably aren't going to look around too much up here. They're going to focus on what's on the main page initially. They might go up here, but they're not necessarily going to look at the press room for how to buy information. So I would put it in a different way, whether it's just a separate link up here for how to buy or just someplace else on the main page. That would be my recommendation to the team, just to make it easier for that new investor that is just looking for how to buy. Now, one kind of interesting thing, most of the time when I do these videos, I'm in Firefox, and this actually looks different when you're in Chrome. And then there's a couple other things that are hit and miss. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't on Firefox. Everything works better in Chrome. So my recommendation is if you're going through this website, probably want to be in the Chrome browser. I didn't check any other browsers to see if there's a difference. I did let the team know that there is a difference, but there's supposed to be a how to buy here, and there's supposed to be a CoinGecko and different links right here that aren't there when I open it up in Firefox. I don't think this is the team, so I'm not going to put a ding on the team because it's a browser issue. They probably built this website in Chrome or Edge and some other different web utility, and it's just not displaying correctly in Firefox. But for those people that have come to this website on Firefox, it might be problematic. Certain things were having problems when I was using it. For example, the About Us, I couldn't get to the Our Team information. Every time I clicked on these buttons, it took me right back to this main page. And then sometimes I went to the dashboard, and I couldn't get away from the dashboard link, even though I was still looking at the rest of the websites. It was just a very interesting interplay for the website. Now here's the Chrome version. So as you can see, very different look. So we'll use this for the rest of this video just to make sure we don't have any issues going through this website. Now here's another thing that you would see normally when you do a fundamental analysis this close to a launch. There are some pieces of information on this website that just haven't been updated yet. For example, the how to buy here is how you would do everything on Pink Sale. It's not how you would actually buy the token now that it's off Pink Sale. So I would update this website to remove that information. Here's another one of those interesting, you don't necessarily need both. Now, when I click this link, it actually takes me to the BSC scan, not necessarily where you would look at the contract information. I think they probably put this on there to help people understand that they can look at the contract information and that is an option in there. I'm not entirely sure that most people need to see that information, or if they're unfamiliar with it in the first place, that they would necessarily know what to look for if they were looking at it. So I'm not sure that this one makes a lot of sense. Obviously, BSC scan is always good. People should learn how to use BSC scan, just like they should learn how to use the contract information, because it definitely helps, especially with this particular token, to see what step they're on in this process. And then they've got other links as well. Now, here's where we start to see some more information about what this token can do. So again, it's got that 15% Binance pegged USD reflections, 3% to marketing, 2% to liquidity pool. I would update this because this is no longer valid today as I'm looking at it, and it's probably not going to be valid when you're looking at it because these numbers are actually going to change periodically throughout the course of the contract. And more on that in a little bit. But right now, it's actually a 19% tax, not a 20%. It's actually gone down by 1% since launch. They've got the liquidity lock for 10 years. Or at least a portion of it. All right, let's keep going down the page here. So as we can see, we got some press articles, the tokenomics, which we just kind of went through, their token distribution, and then we've got their timeline. Now for the timeline, I recommend you not look at this one, and I think you should just pay attention to the one that's in the white paper. So if we look at this one, we can see it's got December, which we've already passed all these milestones, January with their launch, and then we're into February. Now, when we see this, it's actually incorrect. All of the reductions in tax are going to happen by February 10th. So we're into the last couple of days of the tax reduction, and it lists 4, but it's actually just 3. And that's as far out as this timeline goes. There's more information in the roadmap on the white paper. That's why I recommend taking a look at that. For the team, I would recommend updating this to include all the information moving forward. Maybe not specific dates, especially for launch events. It might be beneficial to switch it into quarterly or phases. I usually recommend using quarterly, but I know a lot of projects like using phases. Quarters just kind of points you into the general direction of when it's going to happen and doesn't lock you into a specific date. Just keep your timelines realistic so that you don't miss them. And then we keep going down here. Each one of these will just kind of amplify that given topic. So the reduction tax, if you want to learn more about what their plan is there, you can click on these. Same thing with their community burn or liquidity pool. Let's just keep going through here. And then we've got a little bit of how to. This is a lot of the same information that's inside their press room as well. And then we've got their socials at the bottom of the page. And as you can see here, they've got YouTube. You can kind of look at them on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, Reddit, and Telegram, all the common ones. What's very interesting is their YouTube channel. They've actually got quite a lot of information on YouTube. It can take a while to go through, but they've got most of their AMAs and information about the project right here for you to check out. And that's a great way to learn about the project. I recommend turning the speed up a little bit, but you can learn a lot by watching their YouTube videos. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at their dashboard. Now you can see that there's not a lot on the main page here. My guess is that they're going to add some more information as they go through, but this is good information because this shows you how much you're getting for Binance pegged USD, and you can already see they've given over $1 million away, and it just launched a couple days ago. That's pretty crazy. And then they've got a calculator up here, which is always appreciated, and then they've got the swap here as well. And then you've got the EverReflect button here that'll take you back to the main page. I would recommend getting rid of this and just hyperlinking from here back to the main page. I think that's a better use of their space, but again, these are all just recommendations on how to make this a little more user-friendly, I think. I'm not sure that you need EverReflect written in both places, because that's kind of what it looks like when you look at it, is just click here to go back to the main page. A lot of websites are set up that way, so it's more intuitive, I think, for people. But yeah, it's a great start. And you've got the Connect wallet up here so you can do everything. And they did mention the ability to buy is coming as well. That's something that they're working on doing down the road. Now, if we click on the tokenomics up here, let's go ahead and look at that. And here's where we can see a more in-depth review of their tokenomics. 1 quadrillion is the total supply. They burned 50% on launch. They've got a delayed burn of 100 trillion tokens, or 10%. Now, they've already burned 10 trillion tokens. So almost every week they're going to be doing 5 trillion token burns. On the 10th of February, if I remember correctly, they're going to do a 10 trillion token burn, but most every other week they're doing somewhere between 1 and 5 trillion tokens at a time. And you can kind of see their numbers from their pre-sale here, private sale, and a lot of other information for this token. And then you can see here that they recommend a slippage of 25%. And again, for a 19% tax, that's probably about right. You're going to have a little bit higher on your slippage in order to make sure this transaction goes through. A lot of times when I'm using PancakeSwap, I just set it at 0.5 and then change the last number, and that works for me. But this is also the preferred method a lot of people use, is just doing this. Now, if we look at the security audit, it's actually kind of interesting to look at their security audit. We just did a review not that long ago of Reflex, which is going to be launching next month. And the EverReflect audit of Reflex didn't include a score. Now, in this case, they actually do have a score. Now, when we scroll down, we can see they got a score of 88 out of 100. They've got no critical, no high, no medium, and according to this, they've got no lows. But if we scroll up a little bit, we can actually see they've got 2 lows here, and they've got a third one right here. And based on their assessment, they got an 88 out of 100, which I always appreciate. And that's actually something I mentioned during the Reflex Finance one. So maybe EverReflect was watching, or maybe Reflex Finance took that back to EverReflect and said, hey, why don't you guys do this? I'm not sure where it came from, but I do appreciate that they've got a score. I'm not going to get into the details on these issues that were identified. Definitely check out the audit if you're interested. Now, in the white paper, they did a really good job. It kind of looks like slideshows that were turned into a PDF document is probably the way to describe it, but they made it their own. It's not too much. It's not too little. There are a couple things I would recommend changing. Let's go ahead and dive into this now. Great overview. A lot of really good information in here, and I appreciate that they put the detail in here, because there are some aspects of this project, especially where we are in the launch process, that are kind of hard to figure out what exactly they're doing. And they did a really good job of kind of walking through what they're trying to do with this token. Same thing with their tokenomics. Did a really good job of explaining everything. And here's where you can kind of see the schedule for the change when they're going to get down to 17% versus the current 20% tax, and their plan for burning tokens as well. So there's a lot of really good information on here, and a lot of it's the same information that's on their website. There's not necessarily a reason to go jump into the white paper if you're going to detail review the website. They do put the KYC information in here for you to take a look at through EverReflect, and then you got the team, and then you've got the roadmap. Now, the website actually doesn't have the same information for the roadmap, so we're going to emphasize a few things here specifically. Now, fourth quarter, we're already done with everything here is done. First quarter, that's kind of what we're in right now, which is basically about the launch process. Second quarter is where we start getting into a lot of the utility aspects of this project. So you've got the EverReflect BSC chart website beta, which, as it's being described to me, is essentially like PooCoin or DEX tools with the flavor of CMC or CoinGecko, is probably the best way to describe it. They plan on using this with advertisements, and the cost of the advertisements is going to go back into the burn. Now, I couldn't find too much information on the dev rating system or the grant program. Now, one of the things that's kind of cool is this NFT minting process. And this is really what stands them apart from most other projects out there. So this team's idea is, you know, Ticketmaster, right? So you go on Ticketmaster, you try to buy a ticket for an event you're trying to go to. And I think we've all had that situation where you get on there and all the tickets are sold out. And it's probably like a month or two before you get to the event. Well, somebody went on Ticketmaster and pre-bought a whole bunch of tickets, knowing that people were going to want to buy the tickets and taking advantage of the time. And they turn into scalpers that go basically sell the tickets other ways, online or in person on the day of, to anybody that wants to try to get into the event. Well, the event organizer, performer, whoever it is that is doing that event, doesn't get anything from that. So when you do it as an NFT, you have the ability to control that and give those royalties essentially to the performer or to whoever's putting that event on. And it's kind of a really cool idea, which does two things. It allows the scalpers to still sell the tickets at the higher price. It also gives revenue back to the event coordinator or the performer for doing that event that they wouldn't normally get right now. I mean, that's one of the things with scalpers, right? They make all that profit. So it's kind of a cool idea. And it'll be interesting to see if they're talking about also doing something like movie theaters. Now, movie theaters don't have scalping issues, but what they do have is high fees that you wouldn't necessarily have on the BSC scan. It'll be interesting to see what they can do with this utility and how far they want to take it. And if we keep scrolling down here, that's the end. Now, here's what I think is missing from this. An explanation. What is it? What is their vision for the utility? If I'm a new investor coming to the website for the first time, having never been to an AMA, and maybe not wanting to watch some of the previous AMAs that were about an hour long to find out more information, if I just want a quick snapshot of what this project is about, I don't see that. I might be a little confused because I had to actually go watch some AMAs to try to understand what some of these things were, and I still didn't see anything, but I didn't go through all of them. I only went through 2 of the different AMAs that they had. I didn't go through every single one because they're about an hour, hour and a half long. That's a lot of time to invest into trying to figure out this information. So put a vision for what these things are. That way any investor that's looking for more information can quickly find out, is this a project they want to invest in? And it can be on the website or it can be on the white paper. Most of the time you get a basic understanding on the website and you go to the white paper to get more information. I think that's the more effective approach to how to do these things between the website and the white paper. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the team. Now, as you can see, the team is fully doxed, and actually they've been on quite a few AMAs already. So if you check out their YouTube channel, you can actually see the team on there. So for this project, we've got a doxed team and a completed security audit, which is great because those are generally 2 of the bigger issues you have to worry about with the new launch. Now, if we look at the price data for EverReflect, we can see that it's at the 0.70213, and we can see it's pretty much all over the place since its launch, which is pretty standard for a post-launch price volatility. And you can see that it jumped up and skyrocketed here. We can see it got a pretty good all-time high back here. And it's been kind of all over the place ever since with buys and sells. Again, that's kind of normal. A lot of people will buy on launch day and then sell. So if you're looking at other launch tokens, just keep that in mind. That's pretty standard. Now we're looking at a really small portion of a graph. If you were to look at CoinGecko for something that's been around for a few months, this might be a flat line in comparison to where it could be. So even though it looks like it's really volatile right now, this is just a couple days old. More than likely, give this the 5 to 8 years that I keep talking about on this channel, and this will look like a flat line. You won't notice this against anything else because the price is going to shift that much between now and 5 to 8 years from now, especially with the burning they've got going on and volume as it gets higher. We can see this pretty good trend downward right now. We're probably trying to find a price floor for this token because, again, it only launched a couple days ago. But if you're interested in buying, it might be a good time to buy. Again, launches are really volatile, so it could go down further or it could jump back up. It's anybody's guess. This would have been a really good time to buy right here, which is about a day or 2 ago. This would have been even better back over here. But I can't say that we won't hit these, because these are pretty good resistance levels right here. And we've already gotten there in the last 24 to 48 hours. So it's possible we're on our way down to this resistance level here. I'm not sure. If we look at BSC scan, you can see that there's only 4,000 people that have invested in this token so far. Just people watching it on my channel could cause the price to go up. And that's why I said it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen with the price, because it can be really volatile when there's not that many investors. One of these investors could have a whole bunch of tokens and sell and the price will drop. Or somebody could see this video and buy a whole bunch of it. So it's anybody's guess when is the right time to buy on post-launch tokens. Now, if we look at the holders, we can see that 51%. Again, they burned 50% on launch. And since then, they've burned 1% of the total 10% that they've got planned. Here is that other 9% that hasn't been burned yet. So that is what this right here is. And then you've got all the other holders. So how'd they do? I like the website. I think they did a really good job designing it. There are some recommendations I had, but those are just recommendations. I didn't see any spelling or grammar errors. I didn't see any website issues. I'm not going to attribute the Firefox thing because it does work just fine on Chrome. The team is listed. Contact method, what I'm looking for there is a dedicated way to get in contact with the team. Yes, you can go on Discord. Yes, you can go on Telegram and all these different resources out there, but you're not 100% sure you're talking with the team when you do those things. So the best way to interact with the team is through some sort of an email approach. And that's usually what I recommend teams have. That way businesses can reach out to them, and then anybody that's having issues can reach out to the team directly. Security audit is there. They've got the different links to go check the price data. So I say, yes, it's there. I would like to see in the dashboard that all the price information was right there as well. Market cap and how to buy. For the how to buy, they do technically have how to buy videos in there that kind of walk you through different things. But really what I think they need to have is a dedicated how to buy EverReflect that walks them through all of the different things that they need to know. They can pick one, whether it's Trust Wallet or MetaMask, and just explore that. But that would be my recommendation. That way, if somebody that has never bought a crypto comes to their space, they can follow a how-to video that walks them through every step of the process. At least this team provided basic information, and a lot of it is probably because you couldn't buy it. Again, it just launched a couple of days ago, but that would be my recommendation, is that they've got a how-to-buy video that walks exactly through the process. And if they do produce something like that, just keep in mind, not everybody can buy BEP20 tokens, so it's probably good to have two parts of the process. Explain how you can buy it if you're living in Texas or New York or in a different place that doesn't allow for BEP20 purchase, as well as for everybody else. Their audit score was an 88, so we know exactly what to put in there. It's very easy for that aspect. As far as the roadmap and the white paper, they are there. They are technically current, although I would say that the roadmap in the white paper is more current than the roadmap on the website. So I would like to see that the roadmap on the website gets updated to reflect what's inside of the white paper, because right now it's really just focused on the pre-sale portion. But technically everything is up to date. The development team is known. It is a professional team. I did watch some of their AMAs. They were always professional through the AMAs. As far as the use case, right now all they've got is a token. They do plan on doing something with NFTs. It's not your traditional type of NFTs, but I would probably call it this. But it's also, depending on what they end up doing with their BSC PooCoin type thing, it sounds like they're going to build it into an exchange. They actually do have a swap, so I'm going to turn this to a yes. I could see this being yes for software, depending on how the NFT stuff works, because it really sounds like it's going to be a software, even though it's not something you install on your computer, it's a web-based software. It sounds like that's what they're trying to produce, and maybe even more than one, depending on how you look at the exchange, because an exchange is a piece of software. So is the NFT process, depending on what that looks like. Country recognition, no. Legal tender, no. They've only got 4,000 holders. They currently don't have a Galaxy score, which is always one of the big issues for trying to do a fundamental analysis this close to a launch. Dedicated YouTube channels, again, that's also linked to the proximity to the launch. They're going to have me, because I plan on covering this project. Now, they did have a couple of really big YouTubers that have covered this project. I'm not sure how much they're going to continue to cover it. It didn't sound like it was a paid advertisement. It sounded like Mobile Trades just wanted to cover the project, which is phenomenal. If he continues to cover this project, then it's got a lot of potential to get to a lot of different people. They do have Twitter, they do have Discord. I would say their target audience is pretty robust when you consider the potential of a Ticketmaster competitor, because there's a lot of people that use products like that. And I would suspect that most of the events out there would want to use this approach because they're going to get more revenue from it. And you can't necessarily do that the way that things are currently structured. So this has a lot of potential for global adoption, at least in the places that accept BEP20. So where are we? A C. Now, what does a C say? If you've watched my videos before, you know that this is just a risk indicator. And if it was a couple weeks from now and they had a Galaxy score, they would only need about 40-ish points in order to get to a B. So this is a really strong project. What I really like about it is the unique aspect of what they're trying to do. There isn't anybody else out there that's trying to tackle scalpers and that NFT process and tickets. This is kind of a unique token, and I like that aspect of it. So this is a really strong C, and really if they start launching these utilities, it's a really strong B in reality. If they just had a Galaxy score right now, this would be a B. So that's the only thing that's holding it back. And what do I use the Galaxy score for? If you haven't watched this before, Galaxy score is a social indicator. One of the things that gets these tokens growing is the social sentiment. How much are people talking about it? Are they on Twitter? Are they on Telegram? Are they on websites? Are they on different Reddit posts? Where are they talking about this project? And that's one of the things that Galaxy score does, is it takes all that information in and gives it a score. But that's really what this is telling you is what is the risk indicator? And I've said in the past, Shiba Inu, when I first looked at them, it was an F. They had nothing. They just had a couple different tokens, and look at where they've ended up. That doesn't mean this one's going to get to that level of success. Shiba Inu is just kind of a weird one. Sometimes the weirdest tokens do really, really well, and that's kind of where Shiba is. Now, they've actually got some utility now, so they're actually a much more competitive project. But when I first looked at it, it was a solid F. It was not a good project. What are some of the risks that I don't necessarily see with regard to these areas? Really, the two primary risks I see are the tax. 19% is kind of high. We've only had fee tokens at like these kinds of fees for about a year. And really the first big one was SafeMoon at 10%. Now SafeMoon's got over 3 million holders. It's proven that people are willing to pay that kind of a fee in order to buy the token. And then you've got EverGrowCoin that just shot up to 100,000+ people in a couple of months. So we know that there's a willingness to accept a certain level of fee. Is 19% or is 17% too much? I don't know. I'm not convinced that people are going to be willing to continue to pay 20% fees, but that's a risk. That's always going to be a risk and a challenge for these tokens that have high fees. Now, some of that is mitigated when you start getting on the exchanges because the exchanges don't usually work with tokenomics, at least not right now. If the exchanges start to adopt more tokenomics, that might be a bigger concern long term. It's possible they could adjust the fees if they determine that this fee is too high. The other risk that I'm a little concerned about is the liquidity pool. A 1% fee to feed the liquidity pool is pretty low, especially for a token that just launched. Now, that's not going to happen for a couple more days, but that's a pretty low fee to feed the liquidity pool. And normally when you have liquidity issues is normally during the launch process. If you've invested in EverGrowCoin from when they launched, they had to divert a pretty good chunk of their fee structure into liquidity to offset some issues they were having. And that's really common with launches. They don't have a lot of fee to work with without having to interfere with that Binance pegged USD. And if at any point they run out of liquidity, that becomes a huge issue for the success of this contract. But that's the way to look at the C is it's a risk indicator. And the risk determination is up to you. Now me, I plan on investing in this token. I haven't purchased this one yet, but that's mainly because it's the end of the month and I don't have any money to invest in this project right now. But I do plan on investing in this project, hopefully while the price is still low. Well, that's it for today's content. Hopefully you found it helpful. Let me know in the comments, are you planning on investing in EverReflect? If not, what were your concerns? As always, make sure to do your own research when you buy into these projects. Until next time, stay strong with those diamond hands.